Moving on to our professional education program this morning. I'm going to start with the bios of our two speakers, Donna Rogers and Jamie Haskell. Donna Rogers has 14 years experience working in the senior healthcare community and has been a licensed real estate agent since 2005. She is proud to be a certified seniors real estate specialist, SRES. Her passion is helping seniors and their families avoid the crisis that aging can oftentimes create and to help them find answers, whether it is about healthcare, downsizing, or real estate. Donna enjoys educating the community, other realtors, and healthcare professionals about different resources that are available to seniors that will assist them to age safely with a quality of life and dignity. Jamie Haskell, owner of Haskell Home Organization, is a proud Idaho native. She spent 24 years working in the corporate beauty business in Seattle and decided in 2019 it was time to come home. She has spent years building other businesses and realized it was time to build her own, one that reflected her love for creating calm, clarity, and beauty in everyday chaos of home life. And Haskell Home Organization was launched 3.5 years ago. Today, she helps people organize in a way that works, not just bins and labels, but thoughtful, personalized systems that make homes feel peaceful and easy to live in. No judging ever. Jamie is passionate about helping seniors as they transition into smaller homes, senior living facilities, and assisted living facilities. Well, we welcome you both this morning and take it away.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and make sure this works. Did that work? No.
Not yet.
I see Dara. I see Donna.
Okay, why is it not going?
Well, I did send everything to Dara, so we have a backup plan.
Did you click on share and then select the screen and then you have to click on the share button at the bottom?
I did. Let's see. So share up in the upper right-hand corner, right?
If that's where you see it. It's for me, it's on the bottom ribbon, but
I don't know. It's saying, let's see.
You want me to just pull it up?
Let's see here. Yeah, I guess so. I can't seem to get it to go for some reason.
That's why we have a backup plan.
There you go. Did you get the new one that I sent?
I forwarded it to her last night.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
It appears that it's not in a PowerPoint. Oh, why? Or maybe it is. Let's see if I can put it in slide format. There we go.
Yay!
We did it.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for listening. I think that we can all appreciate that this is a really major subject, and especially it seems when you're working with the senior population, it just takes on a different slant. You know, we used to yell at our kids, clean up your room. But now we're talking about, you know, an entire house. And a lot of times those possessions really do hold up the progress of a senior moving forward. Would you go to the next slide? So, you know, as Karen said, I'm coming at it from a real estate standpoint, and Jamie is the organizer. I would have to say that every real estate agent ought to have a Jamie in their life, because everywhere we go when we're serving seniors, there seems to be, whether it's a hoarding problem or whether it's just a normal type household. I had an appointment yesterday. It was the most organized, clean house. In fact, I asked the gentleman if he has any way younger brothers, because I'd be interested in a man that could be that neat and tidy. But still, it was a situation where there were 3 daughters and everybody was trying to figure out who wanted what. And then, the kids might want this or that, which, as we all know, normally the kids do not. So we are going to come from a little bit 2 different angles, because a lot of times I'm dealing with the issue of how to get things out of the house so we can put it on the market. Whereas Jamie does that too, but she's also helping people have more quality of life at home now, just trying to deal with their collections of sometimes clutter. Next slide. But basically, what I want to talk about is, regardless of what the reason is, at some point, someone is going to come into our home, whether it's our own children, whether it's an outside professional like a real estate agent or an organizer, and they're going to open closets and cupboards, and they're going to look under the beds, and they're going to sort through all those boxes that you really did have the best of intentions of getting through one day. Unfortunately, for us, even though we do have compassion, it really isn't, we don't see the memories, we don't see those sacrifices of those amazing collections, or all the treasures that we wanted to give to somebody someday. What we really see is clutter, and we have to get rid of the clutter. So what we're hoping from this presentation is, we just want to explore why people hold on to things, why letting go is, it's so emotional, and how to choose releasing the past by moving forward without all of these things. And it truly, hopefully what we'll come to the conclusion of is that these things we hold on to, really, sometimes they do keep us from moving forward for one reason or another. So next slide. What we really want to bring out, though, is that this really is about compassion and not judgment. I know for myself, and I'll let Jamie speak to that, her feelings, but I think I've shared with you guys in the past what it was like to go into my own parents' house and sit there for a couple months and go through my mom and dad's collections, not only in the garage representing my dad and his independence, but my mom and all of her beautiful things that meant so much to her while she was alive. And I see that every time I walk in someone's house. I never walk in with a sense of judgment. I walk in with a sense of respect, but also the sense that we have to take care of the clutter so they can move on into their next life. And sometimes it's a matter of safety, that we've got to get people out of their current living condition into a safe place for them to be. So just want you to know that no matter what we say or what we talk about today, we really are coming from a place of compassion. So next slide. So these are kind of the areas, the learning objectives we want today, is just understanding why getting rid of the clutter feels so emotional, recognizing that stuff does not define us, and that's really very hard for so many people. And then learn strategies to choose to live in the now versus in the past. Next slide. And Jamie?
Yeah. So why do we collect things? There's so many reasons. Some of it's just kind of built into our DNA, our ancestors just, kept things just in case. I've worked with multiple seniors who grew up in the Depression era, and I see that a lot. They keep bags of bags, boxes of boxes, just in case. But a lot of times it's an emotional thing. These things give us security. They remind us of people we love. They help us feel like we know who we are. The problem comes when these things stop serving us and they start to weigh us down. Next slide. So why is letting go of these things so hard? It's tough because it's a very emotional attachment. So there's different types of attachments. So there's the guilt part. I paid really good money for this. or out of obligation, it was a gift, I can't really get rid of it. You know, the fear of, oh, what if I do need this someday and then I don't have it? The emotions are normal, but when they keep us stuck, it's worth asking, is this item really serving me in my life today? So I want you to kind of think about reframing some of those emotions. So if we're talking about guilt, reframing it that the money's already spent. Keeping the item does not get it back. With obligation, a way to reframe that would be the gift did its job when it was given. The love isn't in the object. For fear, if you're trying to reframe that, if you haven't used it in a year, chances are you're not going to ever use it. Sentimentality, and this is a big one. I think this is the one that is the hardest for most people that I work with. And reframing that, sometimes it helps if you suggest they take a photo or write down the memory that's tied to that item, and then release the item, keep the story, keep the memory. And then during, this identity thing, how these things kind of, tell us who we are, we think they do. Who you are is bigger than your possessions, and let your actions tell the story. Okay, next slide. Sorry, I've got two different screens going on here. It's a little confusing. Okay. So how do we reframe our relationship with stuff? The memories live in us, not in the objects. So sometimes it's helpful if you suggest, taking the photo of the keepsakes, doing that and then getting rid of the actual items. Sometimes you need to create a boundary for yourself or for your kids. Maybe it's one box per child of their super precious little keepsake items, one shelf, really kind of keep it to a boundary, a physical boundary. That sometimes helps as well. But it helps you really honor the memory and without drowning in all the stuff. Okay, next slide. I love this little meme. I love organizing. Not everybody does, and I totally get that, but he makes me laugh. So, as an organizer, I'll often hear as Donna had mentioned, I'll get to those boxes someday. Well, a lot of times that someday never comes. And life just keeps moving on, and sometimes things just start piling up, and then it gets to the point where it's so overwhelming, a person doesn't even know where to start or how to start, so they don't. So typically when we've been called to help a senior, there is a timeline. So typically I'm working with a realtor, and there's a date where they want to have the house on the market. So we have to walk that fine line of working very compassionately with the clients, but also keeping them on task, so that we make those deadlines. We don't ever want to be the reason that we miss an important deadline. It's really our goal to help them move on to the next chapter of their lives. Okay, so let's do a quick check-in. So if you're not on video, you need to be on video. So raise your hand if you own something right now that you haven't used in a year, but you still can't let go of it. Anybody? Oh, come on. I know there's more people than that. So just, think about it. Anybody want to share what that item is and why you can't let go of it?
So I have a really funny one,
Yeah.
Jamie. And I grew up with a family. Both of my parents were collectors. My father was Depression era. So all of these things. And my husband is the one who keeps me on task. And he keeps me accountable for not doing those same things. And he had gone through some closet cleaning, and he said, "Hey, I have an item that I want you to look at before I donate it." And he pulled down a 1970s crystal ashtray with a gold, brass on a brass stand that sat on the coffee table. And it was the thing I got to dust when I was a little girl. It's an ashtray, y'all. Like, nobody smokes in my house. Nobody's ever going to smoke in my house. It's never going to be outside of my closet. And he took one look at my face and he goes, "I'll put it right back in the closet." I mean, it was just very funny. It was just this, it was a very emotional. I know I'm like, okay, well, how can I repurpose that ashtray? What do I turn it into? But it was just a funny thing.
Yeah, there are certain things that we just hold on to so tightly that way. Anybody else want to share? Sherry.
I have a cedar chest that my mom's dad, so my grandfather had made, and I don't want this cedar chest. But if I get rid of it, I'll never hear the end of it, right? From my mom. So I'm like sitting here going, okay, I thought about tearing it apart and making a bookshelf or something different to repurpose it, but geez, don't do that to your kids.
Yeah, so true, so true. All right, okay, let's move on to the next slide.
Oh, okay. This is definitely me. So from the perspective of a realtor, so when I walk into a home, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. And, it's one thing if it's a value, that's a whole nother conversation. But a lot of times, this is kind of what we're faced with. And at this point, they've chosen not to have someone like Jamie in their life or their home before I get there. And so my job is understanding. I always tell my clients that clutter kind of tells clients that there's not enough room in the house. And so my goal is to clean things as much as possible. So I wanted to show you guys something so these file folders right here, just these few represent clients, potential clients or future clients, I should say, that I've been waiting on for months for them to clear out their homes. They don't want to go forward and they don't want me involved. And so some of them have been struggling for up to 6 months. And in the meantime, their health has declined so much that it's got to be a matter really of safety. And when you talk to the kids, they're frustrated. They don't know what to do. So, sometimes you just have to do, I actually, I thought it was interesting to share this one because everybody thinks of a real estate agent in business suit and high heels. No, definitely not. Most of the time I'm looking kind of like I'm homeless, but this is what I did the one day is you can see there's snow on the ground but we got it gone. We cleaned it all up. And I think what's the most amazing is after I clean and declutter and stage it, I always have the client come back after I've got it staged if they're interested. Some of them, I think it would be painful for them, but they're just so amazed. And they're just like, oh my gosh, this is the house that I fell in love with. And it's such a good feeling, not only for them because they see it's back to that beautiful state that they had it in before they got overwhelmed. But it's also just my way of paying honor to them. So I definitely have a very different perspective. I need it gone. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So again, my perspective is a little bit different. I took a video when I first came into this house. I didn't actually take a picture, but you can kind of see from the first picture that by the time we spent probably 2 months cleaning out the clutter, this is what we ended up with was just a very overwhelmingly dirty house. And for me to think about putting that on the market, I mean, we could have. And I think that's the conversation I end up having with almost every family is because they're overwhelmed. The kids are there and they're just like, wow. So there's always the discussion of, do you want to list it the way it is in the first picture? Or do you want to take the time and a little bit of money to do cleaning? I can't tell you how many times I've just spent the money to clean because I want my clients to get as much as they can. So the first one was when we first came in. The second one was after we hired cleaners, and we had a carpet company come in and shampoo and stretch the carpet. And then the third one was after I finished staging it. So there is such a huge difference. And it was so funny. I just have to tell you this. So my client, she was precious and she was very overwhelmed. She was probably 80 pounds and 4'10", and I towered over her at my 5'1". But she had seen me so many times coming in to clean and help her downsize and get rid of things, that the day that I showed up and met her to show her through the house, when I got there, and it was when it was staged and everything, I got there and she was standing in the living room, just looking around, just with this big smile on her face. And I walked in and I said, "Hey," and she goes, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm your realtor." She goes, "Oh, I've never seen you dressed up." But like, I was in the trenches so much, helping and cleaning. But this is kind of the end result. And this is my goal in every one of them, because we had a waiting line for people to get in. And we ended up getting multiple offers, even in this market, when we sold her house. That to me is true success. And what's interesting is, even though she's been in senior living now for almost 9 months, she only called me one time and said, "Hey, did you ever see the manual to my," I don't know if it was an air fryer, it was something. And that's all she missed. I mean, we carted off truck after truck, trailer after trailer, and all she missed was that booklet. And so, I mean, it's kind of interesting, because even though she had things in her home that really identified her, she actually bred and showed herding dogs. So they would do the shows where they would herd sheep and stuff. So she had, when I walked in, I bet she had 200 ribbons hanging on the wall in the living room. We patched and patched and patched the holes in the wall. But I asked her, I said, "So have you gotten your ribbons hung up?" She goes, "No, I'm just in a different place in my life now. I know I did that. I have the memory, and I don't need to hang the ribbons anymore." So it's just kind of interesting that she didn't allow that stuff that was weighing her down to move forward. So anyway, next slide. Not sure what it's going to be. Jamie.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to just quickly share a quick little story too. So, when I first started the business several years ago, I didn't anticipate becoming, a senior downsizing specialist. That was not something that I thought was going to happen, but it has happened. And it all kind of started with this first client of ours, Mark. And I was introduced to Mark through a friend of mine who's a realtor. And he, lovely elderly man who had had some health issues, could not keep up with his house anymore. He had lived in this house since, I think, 1970 something. And it just, had accumulated all the stuff that we always do. He grew up in the Depression era, so he had the boxes of boxes, the bags of bags, just in case. And he just, we had to get him out of there. It was a health issue. It was a safety issue. And he could not actually made the move to the assisted living until he sold his house. So we were on a tight timeline, but we went in there, we went through every single box with him, every cupboard, every drawer. He really could not do anything on his own physically. So we ended up, going through all of that with him. And then we also were able to get a hold of the blueprints for the new place and help him decide what furniture would actually fit in the new place and all of that. So I think every day we left that place, we probably took 2 truckloads of stuff out of there. But it was interesting. He was very hesitant at first, but the more we did it, the easier it got for him. And at the end, I'd say, okay, we've got this closet to do. Do whatever you want with it. I don't care. I'm good. It got to that point. So it's really interesting to see as you move through the process with people, how it gets easier, where at first they're just clinging to these things, and then you get to that point and it's just like, yeah, I'm done. But it was really fun because we got to move him over to the other place, or not move him, but get him set up in his new place. And just to see the difference in him and his health and all of that was super cool. So anyways, that's my little story. Okay, so we are moving on now to choosing to live in the now versus in the past. So clutter keeps us tied to the past. Letting go allows us to live fully today. When we help families downsize, it's a gift to the next generation, and that's kind of a good way to think of it. And I don't know if any of you have ever heard of, there's a Norwegian thing that they do that they call death cleaning. So it's kind of that same concept of, I'm going to take care of this, my stuff now, so that my kids or my family doesn't have to do it, 10 years from now. So it really is a gift. They inherit the love and the memories, and not the boxes and the stuff that they really probably don't want. And my clients always say, once it's gone, how lighter they feel, how much happier, freer they feel. So yeah, it's really interesting to watch them kind of go through the whole process. Okay, next slide. So this is kind of a heavy topic to think about, but if everything burned down tomorrow, who would you be? So, sometimes we believe that our stuff really defines us. Like if I get rid of my trophies, does that mean I'm not an athlete anymore? Or if I get rid of my books, am I not smart? We tend to tie who we are to these things, which really isn't true. It's your values, it's your relationships, it's your actions, not what's in your closet. So yeah, it's just kind of an interesting thought. All right, next slide. Okay, so organizers tips. So these are just some tips that I use with different people, and different things resonate better with people. So I try lots of different things. So the 1-year rule. So that's kind of a fun one. I like to do this with like master closets or your clothing closet. So but basically what you do is you turn everything backwards. So the hangers are backwards, and you do it. It's good to do it like first of the year. And then as you go through the year and you wear your clothing, when you hang it back up, you hang it right side, so it's facing the right direction. So at the end of the 12 months, you look and see what's backwards. I clearly didn't wear it, and maybe it's time to let those things go. So that works for some people. It just takes you a while to get through it. This one is a hard, fast rule at our house. If it's broken, it's chipped, or it's worn looking, get rid of it. It just goes. You don't even think about it. Donating with intention. Let your items bless somebody else. This one does really help, I think, a lot of my elderly clients who, have those memories and things tied to specifically like furniture. But if you frame it to them in that sense, they seem to be, that makes them feel better that it's going to go to somebody who's going to love it as much as they loved it and enjoy it. So that seems to make it a little bit easier. The rainy day box. So that is more for like, your little treasures and trinkets and memorabilia stuff. Just keeping that again, it's kind of that boundary concept of you keep it, you know, you've got one box. This is what I get. This is my, you know, my little memorabilia box. So you pick your most favorite things. And that way it doesn't get kind of out of control. The one in, one out rule. I like this one too. So especially for my closet, if I buy something new, a new t-shirt or, you know, new pair of pants or whatever, I always try to edit something out. Just trying to keep the amount of clutter to a minimum. And I don't know, how many of you are familiar with Marie Kondo? Anybody? She's a organizer who wrote several books, and she had a show on Netflix for a while, but she's this darling little 5'2" thing. And she would always say, and I think she's Korean maybe, but she has a very thick accent, but in her show she would hand, you know, the person that she was working with an item, a piece of clothing or whatever it was, an object, and her question would always be, does it spark joy? If your answer isn't immediately yes, then it goes away. So that one's kind of interesting. She's super cute. And then you know, the Sunday box, this is a great way to start small. It can be really overwhelming, especially, let's say, if you've got a whole garage full of boxes that you need to get through. I always tell everybody, just start small, take one box a week and go through all of the items in the box and make decisions. Keep, you know, trash, or donate. If you're keeping it, then it needs to find its permanent home. So that also kind of gets the ball rolling, and it seems to not be so overwhelming. Okay, next slide. All right. So take a moment and think, what is one item in your home that you could release this week? Something that no longer serves you. So write it down, make a mental note. And you know, these small steps, they really add up over time. Next. Oops. Okay, so this is just something we put together that will hopefully help, you know, help somebody in those initial process of going through things. So, you know, step one is acknowledging, you know, that the emotions that come up when you're holding an item. So, you know, just acknowledging that, and then asking yourself, do I use it? Do I love it? Does it serve me now? And then reframing your perspective, remembering that your stuff doesn't define you, and then releasing it, deciding, okay, I'm going to keep this. I love it. I'm going to donate it. I'm going to bless somebody else with it, or it's old and worn and it needs to go. And then, you know, replace that thing with freedom. So enjoying the space, the peace that comes with the letting go. All right, next slide. All right, so this is just a decluttering checklist. It's kind of a lot of the same similar things, but sometimes this format works better for other people. So just simplifying your home, just one small space at a time. I always tell everybody, if they're going to do it on their own, start with something small, start with your junk drawer, start with your underwear drawer, you know, just start small. So choose your space. What are you going to work on? Sort the items. So I like to pull everything out of the space and sort it into like items first. And then within the like items, going through it and, do I use it? Do I love it? I'm going to keep it. I'm I'm going to donate it, or I'm going to toss or recycle it. So really, I like to have 3 different boxes ready to go so I can just boom, 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 go. And then that box that is going to donate or trash goes that day. Don't keep it around. Don't stick it in your car and let it sit there for 6 months. It needs to go. And then 3, ask yourself, have I used it in the past year? Would I buy it again? Does it add value to my life right now? Next slide. And then step 4, contain it. If you're going to keep it, it needs to have a home. So it needs to be in a bin, in a shelf, in a drawer, somewhere where you know where it's living, and that's its home. And again, boundaries are always good. You know, you've got this one box, you've got this one shelf, you've got one tote. So whatever you're going to keep needs to fit there. And then celebrate. Yay, woohoo, you did it. Step back, admire the progress, and then commit to, decluttering 10 minutes a week.
Jamie, I wanted to, I think some of you have seen my downsizing presentation where I share about what I got for my grandma when she passed away. I got probably 10 boxes that sat out in the garage, and I walked by those boxes for a year, and I just felt so terrible because I knew that they represented my grandma, but I didn't need anything else in my house. So I finally committed to going through the boxes, and it just cracked me up because most of it was old rusty cookie sheets and old rusty silverware. And just, I mean, even my grandma would have laughed to know that I would have kept those. But anyway, when I was going through it, the boxes, I did find 2 things. And one of them was I found a picture of her when she was younger. And I found this little necklace that I played with when I was little. It just fascinated me. And so I ended up, and this frame, I found at a thrift store. So somebody else donated it and I got to love it. And I put my grandma's picture in it. I hang this necklace over it. It's in my little hallway area, and I chucked everything else. And it felt so good because the boxes weren't there, but I knew I had something that just I smile every time I walk through my hallway.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay, next slide. So just keep in mind, letting go of the stuff, it's gaining freedom, and there's such a great feeling and to watch people experience that is super cool. So love what I do. All right, next slide. All right, well, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for either of us?
I do see there is a question. Are we able to have access to the list you have given us in the presentation? So
sure.
how would be best to share those?
The presentation gets posted onto the members only section of the website about 10 days from now, and you can download the presentation.